Well, a very, very happy Wednesday morning, everyone, and welcome to the John Kentera Show on YouTube, Facebook, and X. We're very excited about our guest who's coming up here in about 30 seconds, but want to remind everyone, please subscribe to our channel. We're doing well and want to continue to build it. And also, if you are tuning in maybe for the very first time, make sure to subscribe, like, and please write your comments in. A little bit later on in the program, we'll have Coach's Crew. We'll also look back and have Coach's Mailbag from some of the questions and comments from previous shows. So stay with us. And we got a lot to cover today, but a great leadoff hitter. I followed him on the radio for many, many years. He was the voice of Southern California for so many years in sports talk radio. He's a legend. People are always continuing to talk about Hacksaw, even though now he's not on 5 days a week, but he's got an outstanding podcast that he's going to tell you about. He's been doing that now for a few years. He also writes Hacksaw's Headlines, his website. So we'll find everything that Hacksaw's been up to and his thoughts on the Padres and the Aztecs, and also going to ask him about his thoughts on sports talk radio and radio in general here. And we bring him on now, the legendary voice of Southern California in sports talk, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. And good morning. And I can see you've got all your media guides right over your right shoulder there.
John, good morning. Great to chat with you. And it's great to be part of your podcast. I had you on my podcast. Isn't it interesting? The world has changed. The landscape of our industry has changed. And here's the coach, and here's Hacksaw, who worked back to back for all those years in sports talk radio. And now we're in the 21st century on podcast and on YouTube. And I have a big sports website that I write on every day. And so the world has changed, but we're still doing what we're doing, which is X's and O's and player transactions and opinions. How you doing? Great to see you.
Well, I'm doing great, Lee. And, it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of hilarious for me because I know what your office looked like for all those years. And I always said if we ever had like an earthquake, we'd find Lee Hacksaw Hamilton about 3 days later buried under media guides.
Well, I've got way too much in my library, too much in my collection, and we're going to have to thin this out sometime, but I don't have the motivation to do that right now because for a guy that's not supposed to be working, I'm working pretty hard because I spend a lot of time on my website and it's all written. That's leehacksawhamilton.com. And then obviously I started this podcast 2 years ago, and it's a volume of work to do it. I love doing it with my co-host, John Riley, but it takes up a lot of time. And of course, I'm still doing stuff on KUSI. I do a big Saturday sports commentary package at 6:30 on Saturday morning. So the guy that's not supposed to be working, I think both of us are working pretty hard.
Yeah, I would imagine so. And I know what you're all about. You know what I'm all about. And, we'll get into sports talk radio here, where it's at right now and where you maybe see it go in the future. But I just want to ask you a little bit about your podcast because I have been over and I've been on it a couple of times. And John Riley, who you're doing it with, is just a marvelous man. And you're doing it a couple days a week. Tell the fans exactly when you're doing it so they can tune in.
Well, like everything else, it's up on the YouTube channel. Everybody's got a podcast now, including my golden retriever. But I'm on Mondays and Thursdays at 1:30. It goes an hour to 2 hours. We incorporate tons of topics on the table. I like to use the phrase, I do sports talk the way it should be done. So there's a lot of topics on the table, and there's a lot of opinions and a lot of give and take between me and John. John Riley's my co-host. He broadcasts from left field sometimes with his opinions. It's kind of funny. It's really kind of funny. He's a closet Giants, Raiders, 49ers fan, which sometimes makes it hard to do sports talk the way I like to do it. But at the end of the day, we've had it on for just over 2 years, and I don't know how all this logistic stuff works. He does all the background. I do the content. I do the graphics. He does all the IT stuff and puts it out there on every media platform there is. I guess we're big in China on TikTok too. But we just surpassed 8,000 subscribers, which is just kind of really amazing to me. And then so the podcast is Mondays and Thursdays at 1:30, and it's up there permanently. Once it goes up on YouTube Live, then it's up there permanently. So you have a chance to look at last week's or go back beyond that. So it's absolutely fascinating. I do that. And then I also have my big sports website, which I've had for more than a decade. It's called leehacksawhamilton.com. It's all written. It take you 5 minutes to read it. I tell people, give me 5 minutes, I'll give you the entire world of sports. It's there the first thing every morning. So your viewers on your live stream and on your podcast, when they're done, check out my website. You'll get a kick out of it. It's a spare time. Check out my podcast. And like I say, Mondays and Thursdays at 1:30 p.m., we do put topics on the table, and we do get into some real controversial topics along the way, just like we did on Sports Talk Radio.
Well, we're going to talk more about Sports Talk Radio, where it's at now a little bit later on. But I want to get your overall thoughts right now on the Padres. First two games up in San Francisco, they found a way to pull out extra inning victories. Where are you at with this ball club overall right now?
Well, let's talk first, John, about big picture. I'll give you my opinion. You give me yours. The big picture is my left hand says AJ Preller has done a unique job putting together a really competitive playoff team over the last group of years. They've made Petco Park a destination point. Always thought this was a good baseball community because it was a melting pot of people from everywhere. Back in the day when the Padres were just a franchise, you'd get good crowds when the Red Sox came here because there'd be a lot of Red Sox fans here. And when the Pirates came in, you'd see all these people been deported from Western Pennsylvania wearing Pirates gear at the stadium. And the same thing with the Cubs, etc. So it's always been a good baseball town. I remember telling Peter Seidler the day he became the principal owner of the team, and after a press conference with him and Ron Fowler, I said, "You guys are sitting on a gold mine." I said, "If you put a winner on the field here, you will draw 3 million fans, because not only will you get everybody's in San Diego that likes to support a winner, you'll get every fan, the Cubs and the Giants and the White Sox and whomever comes in here, you'll draw 3 million. And what's happened? That's what has happened. So Preller's done a really good job putting a quality product on the field. That's a real positive. However, that's what the left hand says. The right hand says short window. They got to be in the World Series this year or next year, because it's not going to happen after that. AJ has spent so much money, it's unbelievable. AJ has traded the farm system away 3 different times. He's got a really good roster that's built for yesterday, today, and tomorrow. I thought last year was a great chance for them to get to the World Series, and they didn't get it done with the 24 scoreless innings at the end of the series with the Dodgers. They're tied down to so many big contracts that we're going to wake up one morning, I fear, and it's going to be a really old team stuck with a lot of contracts that aren't going to be worth the value that they had when those guys were signed. So it has to happen quickly. So his methodology is unique. It's very different. The man never sleeps. He makes trades at 2:30 in the morning. He answers my emails at 3 o'clock in the morning. He knows people. I like his philosophy of boots on the ground. He's got people everywhere scouting. He's uncovered so many unique players, especially in the Pacific Rim. I'm not talking about the Otanis of the world, but I'm talking about the guys that come in are really serviceable, whether it's Matsui or the rental of Nick Martinez, things of that nature. So he's done a really good job. But at the end of the day, and this is the hard part to say, I haven't been to a World Series game in the Preller era yet, and that's a decade long. And that was supposed to be the premise of this mode of operation. So I'm a little bit disappointed they haven't gotten there. They've got the short window to get it done. I thought last year was the year it didn't happen. It's got to be pretty quickly this year or next year, because after that, then they're going to face a major rebuild without a hell of a lot of players in the farm system, because those guys are playing for a lot of other different clubs right now because they traded them all away. So if you're asking me for a letter grade, I'd give AJ probably a B+ right now. But at the end of the day, still looking to get a World Series ticket in my hand and go sit in the press box and watch Padres play in the Fall Classic in the Preller era. That's my spin.
Lee, I think they've got several issues right now. I think it's actually kind of amazing that they're only a game back of the Dodgers right now. You take a look at what they're getting behind the plate. The two guys behind the plate do a nice job catching. But, one guy's hitting in the 160s. The other guy's hitting in the low 200s right now. Left field's been a complete and utter disaster to this point. And I think we've seen enough of Gavin Sheets out in left field. He needs to be the designated hitter. He's not an accomplished outfielder. Jason Hayward going to try to come off the IL with an oblique, but I think his days are numbered in a Padres uniform. Brandon Lockridge, Tyler Wade, they're nice, bench guys here and there. Quite frankly, Lockridge is probably not a fourth outfielder, but a fifth outfielder. And Tyler Wade, you can't overexpose him offensively, or he kind of gets exposed to being a utility guy. So Adley's got some areas to work on in left field, and I think behind the plate right now.
Well, I concur with you. There are nicks. One of my biggest concerns when opening day came, and I said it on my podcast, is they better not have any injury issues to their only three starting pitchers, because those are really the only legitimate guys they had. And Cease has just struggled with his mechanics for a second year in a row. There's not been the kind of consistency that I thought we'd find from Dylan Cease. Pavetta has been, I guess, a bit of a surprise, although he's got a lot of bulldog in him. And I watched him pitch a lot in Boston, and I was pretty impressed with just his fierceness. And the third pitchers there is hanging in there. But the problem the Padres have is they can't afford to have anybody hurt, and now they got Michael King hurt. And I don't think there's going to be any sighting of Yu Darvish in the foreseeable near future. And there's no Joe Musgrove. And I can't trust the back end of the rotation from start to start. And please don't sales pitch me Matt Waldron and these other guys. They're way for thin in pitching. And I just don't know that they have enough quality starters, because they're now into the teeth of the schedule. You looked at it, I looked at it. They're playing 32 games in 34 days, and they're starting to play some real people. And being a game back of the Dodgers, yeah, that's kind of cool. But the Dodgers are just a disaster with the injuries to their pitching staff. And we have not seen a complete Dodger team yet, and there's still 2/3 of a season to be played. I don't know how he solves the problem in left field, because there's really nobody he can go get. One of the intangible issues with Preller is he's boxed into a corner because of the payroll. His payroll is about $211 million. I don't think they can take on very much. And secondly, if they were trying to get something of significance on the trade front, John, please tell me who he's going to trade away. You're not going to trade Salas. You're not going to trade DeVries. There's hardly anything at El Paso, and everything at AA San Antonio is a ways away from being anywhere close to being a major league player. So I don't know if they've got enough assets and resources to go do something different. So they're kind of boxed in. Luckily, the Dodgers they got 17 pitchers been on the disabled list this year. Think about that, 17. And the Dodgers are still hanging around. They're still in first place. But see, they got guys coming off the DL now, are close to being ready to pitch at the major league level again, where the Padres, they don't have anybody except hoping and wishing that Michael King, doesn't have any more setbacks, and this is a minor shoulder impingement problem. So there's just a whole bunch of check marks that the Padres have to work through, and I just don't know that they have the resources to be able to go get something else to add to this roster.
Yeah, the Dodgers have had 17 pitchers on the IL this year, and they still have 14, including Glass now and, Blake Snell. We'll see where their guys go. Let's talk a little bit about Michael King. I thought this was kind of unique, and you never know what the Padres are hiding, because they've got kind of a history the last few years of not being completely upfront on these injuries. They always downplay them, and the next thing you know, we find out they're a lot more severe. Michael King said he slept wrong one night and he came up with a pinched nerve. Well, I've had a pinched nerve before. You've had a pinched nerve before. You get it released, you do treatment and that. It shouldn't be forever that he's going to be out.
Well, we don't know the depth of the pinched nerve. We don't know the location, but he had not shown any arm fatigue or anything, because he'd been just, a workhorse of a starter. Granted, he was a 5 or 6 inning guy. He was always up around the 100 pitch count, and they had to take him out. But he had no arm history injury problems, even back with the Yankees. Now he's been converted from a reliever to be a starter. I'm just hoping that he can work through this. In terms of your assessment that they're not very forthcoming, yeah, you're right there. They said, well, there was some discomfort in Yu Darvish's arm in February, and here we are in June, and I still have no idea as to whether or not he's ever really going to be able to pitch. And everybody gets excited. Well, he threw 6 pitches in the bullpen. That's not max effort. That's not the kind of intensity you need to be a major league starting pitcher. And he does have a lot of miles on that arm, and he's had elbow problems 3 years running. So, John, historically, I know it's only so many bullets in a pitcher's arm, and he may have fired all those bullets in the gun. So that's, we spin back to the original topic. They're in a world of hurt right now in terms of a roster situation. I just don't think they have anywhere near enough pitching with 100 105 games to go in a regular season, and you got 2.5 starting pitchers that you can really trust. With hope Michael King comes back, and if he comes back, that's only 3 starting pitchers. And they were talking about, well, we're planning on 6-man rotation. Hell, you don't have 4 right now in your rotation. How are you going to get to 6? So tough set of circumstances.
You Darvish Tuesday night up at Oracle Park threw what was described as a 17-pitch bullpen. He threw 3 breaking balls, and he's saying, well, this is going to be the new normal. He's having to kind of figure out how he's going to pitch and get through this. And I was looking at his contract, Lee. He's under contract until 2028. The Padres still owe him $63 million.
Well, go back to my opening statement. Contracts, age, and what's going to happen when these guys get past the threshold of 35, or in some cases 38, or some cases 42. As exciting as Petco Park has been because of the arrival and the contract they gave Machado, and what Tatis got, and then obviously what's transpired with Yu Darvish and Xander Bogaerts, they got guys under contract they're going to be stuck with when these guys turn 35, 38 into 40 that they can't move. So it's fascinating that they were able to convince guys to come to San Diego on a payday, but the length of contracts to me has just been staggering. I think this haunts them going forward, because it's obvious to me the ownership has capped Preller's spending spree, and probably rightfully so. This is still a very small market, and in deference to the fans, these people here have been just tremendous, making Petco Park the place to be and drawing 3 million fans. And the prices, John, have gone up 50% in 4 years on Padre tickets. Now, they're in the pennant race and people are excited. They fall out of this thing and then they don't start to be competitive in terms of being a first place team. Fan support's going to start to wane, and you're still stuck with all these contracts. So they've given us a lot to get excited about, but they're kind of painted into a corner now just because of the way that AJ was allowed to do his business.
All right, let's talk about Fernando. Fernando, the first month and a half of the season, was an MVP candidate, definitely an all-star candidate. In the last month, he's become just kind of a guy right now. What are you seeing from Fernando? And I'm going to give you my opinion on him.
Well, I'm wondering, is he hurt, and where's he hurt? Did something happen when he got hit on that forearm? He doesn't seem the same guy at home plate anymore.
That's fair.
His mechanics look all screwy. Might he have a quad injury? Might he have a ribcage oblique injury that he's trying to play through? And that could well be part of the equation. Yeah, he does pop the occasional home run. In the field, though, I mean, he's still playing Gold Glove outfield. He's going to chase every ball from center to the foul line, and he's going into walls, etc. But at home plate, he just looks lost, and I don't quite understand his stride at home plate. It looks askew again. And I like you was of the same opinion. This is an MVP start to the season for him, and all of a sudden, all that has gone away. So I think he's playing through some type of injury, and they don't talk about it. He won't talk about it, and it's an issue. But they need him hitting on all cylinders, like they need Manny Machado on all cylinders, because those guys are ballers. Those guys are difference makers, and if they have superstar seasons, John, that makes the Jackson Merrills and the Cronenworths, and even to a degree, Xander, makes them a little bit more dangerous, and of course Rise in the batting order. So they've got the ingredients to be really good in the batting order, but they can't have any of those guys hitting 220 or in El Nino's case hitting 184 for the month of May. So that's my spin on it. I think he's dinged up, and he stays in the lineup because he's a baller. Your thoughts?
I think he's bored playing right field. Well, my honest opinion. I think he still wants to come back and play shortstop. I didn't think that a year ago, but I'm thinking that right now, watching him play. Not playing with that enthusiasm that we normally see him play with. You put him in the infield, he's a different guy, I think. But what are you going to do? You got Bogaerts. You can't trade Bogaerts.
And what are you going to do if he's still hitting 184 in the month of May? It's to me, it's not just attitude, and I don't think it's attitude because he's playing hard in right field. I think there's something physically not correct.
Well, we'll see. Hopefully, he can get back on the beam. But when you said that, he could be having an injury, and he hasn't been the same since he got hit. And I think that was on, I want to say, like the 2nd of May. And he hit 184. Did hit 5 homers in the month, but has not been the same guy, and just doesn't look good at the plate at all. All right, Lee, let's talk a little bit about San Diego State. You called their games for a long, long time. You know the inner workings of the university. They formally made the announcement the other day that they're leaving the Mountain West Conference along with 4 other schools to go to the Pac-12. And to me, I guess my comment would be, this is going to be a glorified Mountain West Conference. When I think of the Pac-12, unless USC and UCLA are in it, it's not really the Pac-12.
Well, I'll sign that memo. Uh, San Diego State to me it's an enigma. Uh, first things first. What an unbelievable basketball program. What a job done by Steve Fisher, followed by Brian Dutcher. What a culture they've developed. How special is Viejas Arena to try to get a ticket to go see a game there and sit along press row. I mean, it's just really the place to be in our community during the winter months. That's all they have, and it's a big issue to me because we did Aztec football during what was their glory era, a modern day glory era, the Marshall Falk era. And if you recall, John, the 51-51 tie with BYU, the 31-31 tie with USC, the win over UCLA, the shootout victories and all that, in the Marshall Falk era, and they were drawn 48 to 51,000. And I'm sitting here and I'm just shocked. Shiny new Snapdragon Stadium, and their last 2 home games, they drew 10,000 who walked into the stadium to see the final 2 games. The football program has slipped, obviously, from where it was under Brady Hoke at the end. It did not have a good year, kind of a real underachieving year with Sean Lewis, who I thought was going to make a big difference coming in the door. They've really been hurt by the transfer portal. They've really struggled behind the scenes, I think, with the NIL money. The community never put their arms around Aztec football after the Chargers left town. And I thought, what a golden opportunity for San Diego State to go get the football fan and make him part of Aztec football, because they knew the stadium was coming online, and it never, ever happened. And, this season tickets, John, are now down 66% from what they were the first year that they opened Snapdragon. Who in Division I football has 5,900 season tickets? And that's who they are. And they've got work to be done. I sure hope a year from today we're not sitting here talking about another 3-9 football season under Sean Lewis, because that won't be good. They've made mistake after mistake after mistake. I don't understand the methodology. They overpriced everything at Snapdragon Stadium, and then they underachieved from the football product. Those fans have never come back. And I have a hard time with Aztec fans and Aztec alums. You know that the statement they coined, Aztec for life? Well, if that's the case, we're the Aztec for life alums. We're not showing up, not supporting the football program. They're front runners. Yeah, they'll go try to get basketball tickets. They're not here doing anything on behalf of football. And I think that's terrible. So I don't buy the Aztec for life ideology right now, because I don't see it, because the program is floundering. Football is floundering. Baseball's obviously slipped terribly since the passing of Tony Gwynn and Mark Martinez's retirement. But they've got issues with NIL. They got issues holding on to players. I mean, the player turnover in that program has probably been as bad as the player turnover in the Aztec football program. And in terms of the conference affiliation, yeah, it sounds cool to say Pac-12, but I view it as Mountain West 2.0, because I can't get excited about all these guys joining Oregon State and Washington State, and they're not going to get a mega TV contract, and it doesn't have the same sizzle as USC, UCLA, Oregon, Washington, and what the old Pac-12 was. I'm so upset and so enraged at USC and UCLA's leadership that they did this to West Coast college football. So no doubt, under Rocky Long and Brady Hoke, we had a spectacular run. They toppled Boise State. They became the flag carrier, I think, of the Mountain West Conference. But at the end of the day, now that all that's gone away too, and nobody's coming to Snapdragon Stadium, and nobody's supporting the football program. So thank goodness for Brian Dutcher and the culture he's created. The guys want to stay, and guys want to play for him in a unique program. But for everything else around San Diego State leaves a lot to be desired.
All right, Lee, let's talk about radio. And then I want to get into sports talk radio for a few minutes. I mean, You, as well as anyone, I think, in the media, pays attention to what's going on locally, nationally, what's going on in the radio business. And right now, everything that I read, radio is dying a slow death.
Well, we were the first ones through the wall, John. And I reflect back on now what we did at the old Extra 690, and then what was reintroduced to the market when 690 went away, the mighty 1090. And that was a different era. But we were the first to do it. We were I say, first one through the wall. Nobody on the West Coast had done what we did. When we worked for a dynamic guy, John Lynch Sr., and John had vision. John vision was all sports radio, had to be on a big signal, had to have play-by-play, and that was the foundation of what we became. And by virtue of what he did, getting the Charger package, and then bringing me in, I was the first guy they ever hired, and then flipping what was 69 extra gold. Remember that back in the day? Turning it into news talk, and then eventually into sports talk. And then my hiring was followed by a cavalcade of really good guys who were hired. And you think back, you make a list, John, of the guys that we worked with. That was pretty cool. And nobody knew when this was happening. Nobody knew we were going to be iconic, and we are iconic. I have so many people from around the country, radio people, etc., that I cross paths with now, say, "How did you guys do that? Why did you guys do that? How did you succeed at it?" And I said, "Well, this is the corporate philosophy that John Lynch had, and we put this thing in place, and it got better and better and bigger and stronger, etc. But it was all mandated by Big Signal and having play-by-play rights. So that was unique. Now, a quick story: John Lynch brought me to his house right after I'd been hired and said, "This is my game plan." I mean, I had been brought in. I knew I was coming in to do a sports talk show on some type of station. At that time, it was Extra Gold, and I was going to be the voice of the Chargers. And John said, "I need you."
August 1st, 1987 was your first broadcast.
That's right. And John Lynch said, "I need a 9-hour game day. I know what you did at Arizona State with Sun Devil Saturday. I need you to create that." So we did that, and we went and got people to do different segments, etc., for the 9-hour game day on Charger Sunday. And I did the evening. At that point, it was in the evening sports talk show. But he told me, he said, "My plan is to roll this out and become a big all sports station." And I said, "Well, I came out of a news talk background. I've been in Phoenix at KTAR with a great news talk operation. And I was kind of focused just about that." I said, "Do you think all sports is really going to work? That seems oversimplified format." And he said, "It'll work." And of course, I wasn't paying attention that WFAN in New York or WIP in Philadelphia, which were the first two that did it. We were the third one in the country that put it on the air. And off to the races we went, and it kept adding people and hiring people and stumbling onto people. And here came the coach John Kentera with his high school background, and here came Steve Hartman, and then here came Hartman and Chet Forty and the Loose Cannons, and then here came Jim Rome out of Santa Barbara, and all of a sudden this thing was cooking and this thing was rolling. But like everything else, the world changed, landscape changed, corporate radio took over local radio. I think kind of wrecked it, changed it, and we all wound up becoming free agents at one point in time. And so I'm a little disappointed. I'm not bitter. I'm just a little bit disappointed it ended the way it did, because what we had, John, was a once in a lifetime opportunity. And now there's so much noise out there. It's a whole different world of sports talk radio. But I talk to people all the time, and I say, yeah, I think, guys, we were really part of the golden era of sports talk radio. But again, we were the first one through the wall. Nobody in LA, nobody on the West Coast had ever done what we did at the old 690, and now obviously reinvented at 1090. So I'm kind of proud at that. I miss it. I miss the interaction. I miss radio. But then again, here we are, podcast. We're kind of doing the same thing in a different venue.
Lee, the one thing I'd like the fans to know about us, more than anything else, they heard us on the radio for years, okay, and doing a variety of different things, whether we were doing, me doing a post-game Charger talk show, or you doing the Charger games or the Aztecs and all the different stuff I was doing with the high schools and the colleges, and, and then later on with the Padres. I want people to know we lived and breathed this stuff. Yeah, we sacrificed a lot of our personal time, our family time, and people will never know what it was like for you and for me and guys like Werndell and Hartman. I mean, we lived and breathed this stuff, even when we were off the air where we were working. And the other thing that I would say about 690, and of course, I was following you for many years on 690 before we both ended up over at 1090. Listen to the Mighty 690 or Extra Sports 690. It changed names a couple of different times. You had to tune in. You wanted to hear what everybody was saying, and you go from one show to the next show. And even though I was working, 7 to 11 or 8 to midnight, I had that thing on at 8 o'clock in the morning while I'm getting prepared to do a show. We didn't want to miss out on anything because it was the place to be if you were a sports fan.
Well, it's really funny you read my mind because that's what I was going to say. The thing that made sports talk radio, at least the way we did it early on, was that every show came at it from a really different angle,
That's
and we
why it made it.
and we didn't talk about the same topic every minute of every day of the week. We went all types of different directions. I mean, best 15 minutes in radio was the best 15 minutes in radio because I covered all things locally, be it Padres, be it the Chargers, whatever. But I also covered national stuff and international stuff and unique and different things. And that's what made it cool is you had to listen to the next guy to see what his take was on this certain topic. Or you listen to the morning guy to see what the morning guy was going to say about what the guy the night before said, or what had evolved overnight on some late breaking trade, etc. It was amazing. Here's the funniest thing that was ever said to me. Peter Seidler, and I did not know him. He knew me. Of course, our signal busted up and down the West Coast, from Baja to the Canadian Rockies, as the host used to say. The first time I met Peter Seidler, after his initial press conference, he came off the podium and shook my hand. He said, "I've been listening to you forever." And it never dawned on me. Well, he's in LA. Yeah, I guess he could. He said, "I couldn't wait to get on the 405 and get stuck in traffic at 4 p.m. so I could hear the best 15 minutes of sports radio." So that was our impact on listenership, that you had to be there. I guess they call it appointment listening. They had to be there to see what I had to say, or they had to be there to see what you had to say versus what I had to say, or be there the next morning to listen to the other guys react to what we said the night before. It was a different era. Today, it's really different. It's corporate radio. It's streamed down budgets. It's a very expensive format to be in. That's why there's so much syndication on local radio now, rather than a lot of local shows, because we want local shows across the whole board. It's just a different thing. And I think one of the intangible things, I recognize it, I don't agree with it. Everybody has to get on bended knee and salute the team that you're broadcasting and never, ever say anything negative or critical. Well, you can't do that. You need to be honest with the listeners. If I don't like this Charger trade, I will tell you I don't like this Charger trade. If I think there were conflicts with the Padres in that clubhouse, I would talk about it, even if they were on our station, because I was down on that clubhouse all the time. So today it's very different. And I don't know if they're intimidated by ownership of the franchise that they're broadcasting, but you got to be honest with the fans. And if you take a different stance, that's okay. As long as you're fair. You can be critical and you can be tough, but you got to be fair. One of the problems I have is an awful lot of sports talk radio around the country, just firing cheap shots and opinions, etc., and then never going into a locker room or going into a clubhouse and actually talk to the guy that you might have said something negative about. So there's not a lot of stand-up honesty in some of the things going on in sports talk radio. But we did it differently. We were the first ones through the wall, and I'm proud of the teammates and what we accomplished. And it's kind of cool to look back now and say, yeah, that was unique.
We had some characters. I mean, I think of Werndell, and of course Chet Forty. He went to the beat of his own drum. Hartman. I mean, if people only knew some of the things that went on in the hallways at that old Pacific Highway building.
Yeah, there's so many, John. There's so many stories. We could sit here over coffee or a cold beer, and we just start telling stories about the things we experienced, and it just so hilarious. I'll give your viewers a 30-second capsule. You and I and all the guys on our stations, we did remotes, and we go to restaurants, and part of the deal was they'd give us some meals, etc. So Hartman and Werndell did a remote at the historic Trophies restaurant.
Oh,
And
I remember. I know where this is going.
yeah, and they, they'd serve us sandwiches, etc. And I did 4 hours at Trophies. I could think it was every Thursday. It was great venue. It was great for us, and it was great for them. It was a 4 hour commercial. So anyhow, they served us food. So one day Hartman and Wendell are there, and they start bringing food out for these guys, and they brought all their families, and they ran up this big bill. This is hilarious. So the next day, I'm in the hallway and I hear this discussion about this $590 food bill from Trophies. It wasn't me. I didn't eat. I was on the air. And Hartman and Wendell had run up this big bill because they brought families, and they're sitting there and they kept ordering. And they're standing in the hallway with the list, the bill, and they're arguing over
the receipt. Yeah,
the receipt. They're arguing over who ordered the Caesar salad and who ordered the French onion soup. And they were arguing who was going to have to pay for what. That's one of the funniest stories of all, and it's actually true between Hartman and Philly Billy. But so, like I said, we'll sit down over a cup of coffee at Starbucks, and we'll be there till the sun goes down. Because once you start telling stories about what we experienced, it never ever ends. I guess I call it like being part of a fraternity.
And of course, we used to kid Philly Billy about having deep pockets and short arms.
Alligator arms.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I know you gotta be a cab driver here. You gotta drive your one of your two sons down to the airport. So Lee, thanks for the time. We'll do this again, and I'll look forward to coming over with you and John Riley again as well.
No, salute you. You're doing a great job here. Isn't it amazing? You and I doing this modern technology stuff. And do you know, John, I still have my Royal manual typewriter in my garage.
I remember that very well. You were pecking away all the time on that.
With all the press guides, too.
Exactly. Lee, have a great day, and thanks for the time.
My pleasure. Anytime, John. We'll talk soon. Be well. Thanks, guys.
There you go. Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. And again, LeeHacksawHamilton.com. You can get the hottest headlines and his podcast Monday and Thursdays at 1:30. So Hacksaw and I can't begin to tell you, we worked over 25 years together, first of all, and we did Aztec stuff together. We did Padres stuff together. We did Charger stuff together. And it was a unique time. There's no doubt about it. But I just wanted people to really understand. I mean, we lived and breathed this stuff. It wasn't like we just read the newspaper and came on the air. I mean, we were at it. I mean, I was on, whether it was 7-11 at night or 8 to midnight. Man, I was up and at them the next morning and pretty much work all day until I'd go to the station. Lee was the same way. I mean, he'd get to the station by, 8:30, 9 o'clock, not going on until 4 o'clock. It was crazy what we did. And I think about it now. It was flat out crazy the way we worked. And we did it all the time. And like I said, even when we weren't on the air, it was like we were on the air. It didn't matter. And early in our career, we didn't have cell phones. And we're talking to people and all kinds of stuff. But, people have asked me, and I know they've asked Lee as well, why don't you guys write a book on your history in sports talk radio? Man, I could write a book, but like Lee said, you got to be honest. And, a lot of these teams now, they want you to be a cheerleader for them. You got to be honest. My whole theory when I did the Charger post-game show, when I did Aztec stuff, when I did Padres stuff, if you don't like what we're saying, man, play better. We got to be honest, because San Diego, I don't care what people say, the sports fans of San Diego are pretty educated in all sports. And, you can't come on and sell sunshine when it's pouring rain. And you got to be honest. And that's why I think people like what we did. Lee's ratings were always great. Mine were always great. Steve and Chet were great. And then Chet passed away in 96. Bill Wendell came in. I mean, we had some incredible ratings. I mean, my nighttime ratings were incredible. And, it's just, it's a different age now. And like Lee said, maybe some of these teams intimidate guys on the air. But again, it's just a different lifestyle. And, I watch people on a lot of these different TV networks. And I go, man, how did this guy get a job? Or how did she get a job? They don't really know that much about sports, but I guess it's more about entertainment than passing on knowledge. But it is what it is. But thanks again to Lee Hamilton. We'll do that again. We're going to get Bill Werndell on one of these days. The problem with Werndell, believe it or not, he still doesn't have an email. Can you believe that? I'm going to be on his show tomorrow in Philadelphia. I'm going to be on his talk show tomorrow. He calls me, and I'm on his show fairly often. And I want to get him on the podcast. He goes, well, I don't have an email still. And I go, does that mean I have to put a picture up of you while I'm talking to you? So we'll work on that logistic here in the next week or two. But great having Lee on, and a lot of great memories. And him and I stay in touch quite a bit. Okay, I want to just kind of jump around here in our final few minutes, and we're going to get to some questions as well. Padres, hey, Monday night, they win 1-0. On the mound, Stephen Kolek, 5 2/3, 3 hits, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts, doing a great job. 3.47 ERA. Really irritated me, though, the other night. He had 2 batters. He knocked Lamont Wade Jr. out of the game. And then the next inning, he hit Wilmer Flores, and Flores got all bent out of shape. And all of a sudden, they're going to give a warning. And I know Logan Webb had hit one of our guys the prior inning. Nobody was throwing at anybody, okay? That was ridiculous that the umpires would give out a warning. Now, that's soft baseball. I'm sorry. But, everybody, kind of was thinking about coming out and, raising Cain, but nothing ended up happening. But the Padres win the game 1-0. Jose Iglesias, a marvelous game. I'm so glad they picked him up. They could have brought this guy to the big leagues 2 years ago, but they had him down in AAA, and he opted out. He opted back in. He opted out again. They could have brought this guy up 2 years ago, and who knows, maybe he could have been with the ball club last year. Hit 337 last year playing for the Mets, doing a great job, hitting 248, not getting an opportunity to play a whole lot, had the sacrifice fly. He gives you a quality at bat, and where he's at age-wise now, I don't think he can play every day. But I try to find a way to get that guy in more than a couple of days a week. I try to get him out there 4 days a week if you can, even if he comes in late for defense. I mean, look at the plays he made at third base the other night. I mean, this guy is a great defender. That ball was smoked at him the other night, and he was able to flag it down and throw the runner out at first base. I mean, that ball, 110 miles an hour? And he was like on the grass. But that isn't the first time he's made great plays. And again, most of his career was at shortstop. Now he plays more at second base, and he'll give Manny a day here and there at third base, let Manny DH, and it's great. But Iglesias is a pro, a real pro. I love that guy because I have confidence that he understands the situation. Every time he gets to the plate, he gets into the batter's box with a purpose. He's not just in there hoping to hit or swinging the bat. He's got an idea of what he's trying to do. I hope a lot of the Padre younger players are paying attention to this guy. But a great win on Monday night. Padres, they out-hit the Giants that night 6-5. They're 1 for 5 with runners in scoring position. How about the Giants Monday night? They were 1 for 12 with runners in scoring position. Logan Webb threw a hell of a game, 8 innings, 6 hits, no walks, 7 strikeouts. And then, he didn't get the loss. But the Padres found a way to get it done. Now, Tuesday night, Padres had no business winning the game. I mean, Landon Roop and the relief corps were sticking it up their tailpipe. They had no business. And then Brandon Lockridge gets his second infield hit of the game, and he eventually gets on 2 walks by Camilo Doval, and then Manny comes through with that base hit to tie the ball game up. And Cronenworth gets a 2-out hit in the 10th inning, and the Padres come back and win it 3-2. They had no business winning that game. But, hey, they won it. They out-hit the Giants 10-6, but they made a couple of errors. Manny made his 11th error of the year. I was hoping he might win the Gold Glove this year. That's not going to happen. He's yet to win a Gold Glove in the National League. But Manny, offensively, fantastic. 4 for 4, that 2-run single in the 9th inning to tie the ball game up. Man, it came through in a big way. That was huge. So the Padres in this 17-game stretch, starting on Monday, they're 2-0. They've got 15 more. They got 2 more with the Giants. Then they've got 3 in Milwaukee. Then they come home next week. They got 3 against the Dodgers, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Then they go to Arizona for 3, and then they go up to LA for 4. So we're going to have a much better idea where the Padres are at after the 15-game stretch. But so far in the 17-game stretch, they're 2-0, doing a great job. So, we're talking about Fernando. I think Fernando's bored. I really think Fernando is bored in the out. I think he wants to come back to shortstop. But what are you going to do with Bogarts? And, I'll be honest with you. I'm a big Xander Bogaerts fan, but he's got so many things wrong at the plate right now, in my opinion. You got to start over with him. I went back, and why I did that, I have no idea. I went back the other night, and I was looking at tape of when he played for the Boston Red Sox. I wanted to see if I could see some things. And he doesn't look quite as athletic now as he once did. I think weight-wise, he's a little bit heavier, but we all get heavier as we get older, normally. I think you got to start from the feet up. I don't think he's getting any power out of his legs right now. It's all arms, and he likes to let go of that top hand, that release. He kind of throws the bat out there. He's not really driving the barrel through the hitting area. And, I think we've maybe seen the best of Xander Bogart. I think we've seen the best of Jake Cronenworth, too. If you look at Cronenworth's numbers, the first year was the COVID year. And, he hit like 285, I think it was. And his numbers have gone down. Look at his baseball card and see the numbers and how they've gone down. Hitting 241, Xander's hitting 241. But it is our middle infield right now. Those are our guys, our keystone combination out at short and second base. Padres right now, I think they're right there. They're right there. They could go one way or the other. I want to say that they're going to continue to play good baseball, but they haven't played great baseball in the last month. I mean, they found a way to win last night when I thought they'd probably get beat. Monday night, they hung in there, but they're finding ways to get the job done. But the pitching, I just don't know if the pitching is going to hold out. And you got to get something from left field, and you got to get something from behind the plate. I mean, if Bogarts hits 240 and Cronenworth hits 240, you can still win. Those guys will play good defense. They'll get on base enough. They're not going to drive the ball out of the ballpark. Cronenworth every once in a while run into one. Xander's not going to run into too many, I don't think. I was hoping he might hit 15 home runs. I don't see that happening right now. But play good defense. Arise will do his thing. He's a little bit of a funk right now. Probably needs to clean up what he's swinging at and work the count a little bit. But that kind of takes away from his aggressiveness. But they got to figure out what they're doing behind the plate and catcher. I think Tucker Barnhart, I'd kick the tires on him. I don't know if you could sign him to a minor league contract. He just got DFA'd by Texas. He's 34 years of age, left-hand hitter. You got two right-hand hitting catchers. Maldonado's hitting 169 right now, and Elias Diaz hitting 213. You got to get a little bit more out of that spot. And left field, we know that has been a disaster. We've had like 8 different left fielders, and nobody's really getting the job done this year. So it is what it is. Give you the pitching matchups for tonight and tomorrow. Tonight, Oracle Park, another 6:45 start. You got right-hander Nick Pivetta, 6-2 and a 2.74, going against young left-hander Kyle Harrison, 1-1 and a 2.51. Pavetta's last start last Friday night against Pittsburgh picked up the win 3-2, 6 innings, 6 hits, 2 runs. Both earned that night, no walks, 8 strikeouts, doing a great job. And Kyle Harrison, a really nice-looking left-hander, 23 years of age, pitched in 6 games, will be making his 3rd start. He's only pitched 14 1/3 this year, 8 hits, 4 earned runs, 6 walks, 16 punch-outs, giving up 2 home runs. His last time out, last Friday at Miami, the Giants won, and he picked up the win 2-0. He went 5 innings, 1 hit, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts. So probably going to be a 5-inning effort tonight for Kyle Harrison. They'll turn it over to the bullpen. And then tomorrow afternoon, you got right-hander Dylan Cease, 1-4 and a 4.66, going against Giants left-hander. Boy, he's pitching great right now. Robbie Ray, 7-1 and a 2.43. That game will be an afternoon affair at Oracle Park at 12:45. Okay, let's get to some live questions in Coach's Crew. What do we got today? And again, we'll be back in on Friday morning at 9 a.m. Sand Cactus Man, what's your thoughts having Tatis protected in the lineup? Maybe have Jackson bat 2 or Manny. No, I think you got a left-hand hitter in a Rise. I have no problem with a Rise hitting second. He's not swinging the bat real well right now, but he'll get hot. I mean, a Rise is one of these guys. He may get 8 hits in a 3-game series. He's that type of hitter. You got to stick with him. I like the lineup. I'm not excited about the way Fernando's swinging the bat. I'm not real excited about his mannerisms right now. He just doesn't look like something's bugging him. Lee thinks it's an injury. I think he's kind of bored. I think a little bored. I think he wants to get back in the infield, what I think. And, maybe there is an injury. Remember, he got hit pretty good. I want to say it was May 2nd. He hadn't been the same guy since May 2nd. But now I think the lineup's fine. If anything, I'd flip flop and put a Rise at leadoff and let Fernando hit second. But we'll see where it goes. But I like when Fernando's playing well, I want him in the leadoff spot. And I don't think it really matters who's hitting behind him because he sold his 11th base the other night. So he got 11 steals, but he's got to get on base, hitting 265 right now. Man, he was raking. I mean, before he got hit, he was flat out raking. But that's my thoughts on that, Sand Cactus Man. Thank you very much. Okay, keep them coming now. A. Visser, the Padres get a massive amount of money from TV rights. That's not true. There's no reason for ownership to get cheap except for greed. No, they're not getting money. That's part of the problem. Them in Arizona, they're not, and there are a few other teams. They're not getting big money. If you send in your $99 subscription for Padres TV to get it on the internet and all that, great. But no, they've lost a lot of money. When Bally's went bye-bye a couple of years ago, Major League Baseball has taken over the Padre broadcast, if you haven't noticed. So, yeah, they're not getting TV money like a lot of teams are. So, no, I don't think they're being greedy. I wish they were getting TV money and they dropped the parking. I mean, the parking down there is ridiculous. I paid $50 the other night, and that was cheap. Could have went to another lot for 55. But yeah, the tailgate lot, $50 the other night. But hey, you know what? You want to go to the ball game, you got to pay the freight. Visser, thank you very much. Appreciate that. All right, Yu Darvish update. Okay, here we go. Yu Darvish, right elbow inflammation. Tuesday night before the game, he threw between 16 and 17 pitches. He threw a fastball. He hit 90 a few times. Also threw 3 breaking balls. Plans to throw another bullpen Friday. I was looking at his contract. 6 years, $108 million. Signed it in 2023. It's through 2028. So this year and 3 more seasons for Yu Darvish. $20 million this year. $15 million next year. $14 million in 2027. The final year, 2028, $14 million. By my math skills, that comes down between this year and 2028. Padres still owe him $63 million. You think Yu Darvish will still be pitching in 2028? Will he still try to be pitching, or will he hang it up and walk away from that money towards the end of the contract? I don't know. But, well, we'll see where that goes. And again, I brought up Tucker Barnhart. He's a 241 career hitter. He played 8 games this year with Texas because our buddy Kyle Higashioka was battling a hamstring injury. And he got 15 at bats. He hit, 231 and 15 at bat. Left-hand hitter. Won a couple of Gold Gloves. He's younger than Maldonado. What do you do? What do you do? Don't you have to upgrade the catching position, or are you okay with what we got? I think you're always looking to upgrade, aren't you? Yeah, that's what I would think. But the lack of offense at the catching position, man, I got to tell you, Elias Diaz, who's been a pretty good major league hitter, doesn't look very good right now. I mean, a couple of bad at bats the last couple of days. Has not swung the bat very well at all, and his average, right now, after last night's ball game, is down to 213. Last night 0 for 3 with a couple of punch outs. Didn't look good doing it either. All right, let's get to a coach's mailbag. Take a look at a couple of the questions from last show. What do we got today? T Fueler, believe it's time to trade Campusano. He needs new surroundings. What do you think, Coach? I don't know what the deal is with Campusano. I mean, you bring him up, you're taking a roster spot. Let the guy catch. Let him catch. Let him get into the flow of the game. They've been using him as a designated hitter. And Campusano, his number, he's 0 for 13. He has walked 6 times. He has struck out 6 times. So 0 for 13 with 6 walks, 6 strikeouts, and 19 plate appearances. I don't know what the deal is. It's not like he's wearing out the baseball, but if you've got him on the road, let him catch one game. Let him catch one game and see how he does. Then it tells me they don't trust him. They don't trust Campusano behind the plate. If you got this guy and you think he can help you and he's tearing it up in AAA, he's been with you each of the last 5 years at different points in time, you're maybe hoping he can get hot, you can trade him, but what are you going to get for Luis Campusano? Every time you send him down, you devalue him a little bit more, and you're not even letting him catch. So I don't know. You can trade him, and it might be good for him, but I don't know what the Padres are going to get in return for Luis Campusano. I mean, this guy is the prospect of eternity. We keep waiting for this guy, for the bell to ring, and all of a sudden he becomes a great major league player. Not going to happen in San Diego. Not going to happen. I mean, a young guy needs to play. He needs to be behind the plate. Let him get in the flow of the game, and I guarantee you start swinging the bat better. Now, what happens is he's like a lot of guys. He goes to the plate, he makes an out, and I saw the game on Saturday night. He was awful. He hit into that double play, and you could just see his shoulders shrug. And, I mean, am I ever going to get a hit? And then he goes in the dugout and sits over there and thinks about it till his next at bat. Take his mind, let him catch. For crying out loud, let the guy catch one game. You've had him catch other games. He's not going to kill you behind there. He's not going to be Gold Glover, not Johnny Bench or Pudge Rodriguez, but give the kid a chance to have success. They're not giving him a chance to succeed. And maybe he won't. Even if he catches, maybe he's not ready to be a big league catcher. Maybe he needs a change of scenery. But I don't think he's really getting a fair break. You bring him up, let him catch, for crying out loud. One game, is it going to hurt? Or Maldonado and Diaz that great behind the plate? You can't let Campusano at least catch one ball game? Or if you got a lead, let him come in and catch 2 or 3 innings in the 7th, 8th, or 9th. Give him a chance. I don't know if he can make it or not, but he's not going to make it as the designated hitter, I can tell you that. Okay, what else we got? I like the question, though. Team Deep 2060. Padres only have 2 people hitting over 300. They were beating a bunch of bad teams. We have to start beating good teams. Well, you take a look at their order. What do we got? We got Jackson Merrill at 323, and he's coming back down to earth. He was 1 for 5 last night with 3 punch outs. Manny it's got a lot more at bats than Jackson Merrill, hitting 315. Yeah, we are coming back down to earth. There's no doubt about that. And we're going to have a better idea of where the Padres are at after the 17 game stretch. But so far in the 17 games, they're 2-0, and they got 15 to go. And 7 of them are against the Los Angeles Dodgers. And we'll see how that goes. Dodgers are having all kinds of problems with the Mets. Man, I'll tell you, Mets beat them the other night in extra innings. Dodgers found a way to come back. Max Muncy hit a couple of homers on Tuesday night. Hit a tie-breaking homer in the 9th to tie it up. And Freddie Freeman, an RBI double to win it on just a brutal play by Brandon Nimmo in left field. He got all turned around. Should have caught that ball, and then they had runners on 1st and 3rd with 2 outs in the 10th. They may have got beat, but Nimmo got all turned around on that deep fly ball to left field that hit the warning track. But thank you very much for that. And I agree, they're coming back down to earth, but again, you got to get more out of Xander Bogaerts. You got to get more out of Cronenworth, and you got to get more out of left field and behind the plate. That's the way I see it. What else we got? We got another question there or two. Petco Party. Love seeing the Padres win, but it seems like the Dodgers find a way to win also. I think it's pretty amazing right now that the Padres are only a game back of the Dodgers. I think everybody looks at the Dodgers, oh my God, the Dodgers are doing this, they're doing that. Dodgers are a good ball club, but they're dealing with a lot more injuries than the Padres are. I mentioned earlier, they got 14 guys right now. 14 guys right now that could be helping that pitching staff. I mean, think about the Glasnow, Snell, Emmett Sheehan, who's working his way back right now. You got Blake Trinan coming out of the bullpen, Michael Kopech. We could go on and on. Roki Sasaki. You could go on and on about the Dodger bullpen and where their guys are at. And I don't know how many of them are going to come back. They're working on coming back, but I have no idea. But they've got an entire pitching staff right now, 14 guys. So they've got an entire pitching staff plus one because you carry 13. They've got 14 guys on the IL right now. They've got a whole group of reinforcements if they ever get healthy. Now, Evan Phillips not coming back. He's having Tommy John surgery today, done for the year. That hurts. Evan Phillips has been as good a reliever as they've had up there in the last 3 years. Been an amazing find. After he got DFA'd by Tampa Bay, he comes to the Dodgers, and all of a sudden, the guy becomes one of the best relievers in the National League and really all of baseball, but going to have Tommy John surgery. Okay, we got any more? That's it? Okay, let's get to the standings. Let's take a look at the standings right now. Oh, by the way, Colorado won a series. Congratulations. They won a series. How about that? They got 11 wins now. The Rockies 11-50. Man, they're going to have a parade down down there in downtown Denver. 11-50. Look at that. My goodness. Can you imagine being a Rockies fan right now if you're really into it? 11-50. You're looking forward to next year already. Dodgers at 37-24. Playing over 600 baseball. That's damn good. Padres, they win tonight. They'll be over 600. 35-24, a game back. The Giants 33-28, 4 games back. They have no offense. I mean, their offense is brutal. Arizona, man, I don't know about the Diamondbacks. They're 29-31 right now. They're 7.5 back, and they got a lot of problems. We're going to try to have Brad Sesmat on next week. When the Padres go over to Arizona. We're going to talk to Brad. There are a lot of things going on there. I mean, Torey Lovullo's in his 9th year of managing that ball club, and there are people that think maybe they need a new voice. They've talked about the pitching coach. I mean, they got a lot of issues right now going on with the Diamondbacks, and then they got the Rockies. So Padres, amazing. 35-24. Man, get the next 2 games in San Francisco and then head into Milwaukee. Milwaukee's playing a little bit better baseball, but man, the Padres only a game back right now. And man, think about this. Monday night at Petco Park. Monday and Tuesday night and Wednesday afternoon, Petco Park. The boys in blue are going to be in town. That will be an amazing series. But the Padres need to get out of San Francisco, get at least 1 out of the next 2. You take 3 out of 4, you're sitting in good shape, and then you go take 2 out of 3 from Milwaukee over the weekend and keep that. Maybe the Dodgers get beat the next 2 days. There's nothing sure with the Dodgers right now because of their pitching. And I think they got Gonsolin going today. You just don't know where the Dodgers are at with their pitching. So if you can stay a game or 2 back, and them coming in next Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, man, who knows? Maybe the Padres by the end of next Wednesday, they're going to be in first place. We'll have to wait and see. But, man, those are going to be unbelievable games at Petco Park. All right. I want to thank everyone for tuning in today. Thanks again to Lee Hacksaw Hamilton for joining us on the show. Had a great time with Lee. Again, write your comments in. We'll be back in on Friday morning at 9 a.m. Remember, please subscribe. Please like. Please turn on your notifications. You can follow me on YouTube, Facebook, and X. Let's hope the Padres can get a win Wednesday night, Thursday, and we got a lot of good things to talk about on Friday morning's program. Until then, Coach John Kentera, have a great day, everyone. We'll talk to you again real soon. Bye-bye.